We are now live, sir. Please go ahead. Dr. Rajesh, sir, we are now live.
Good morning, namaskar, and Jai Hind, everyone, and welcome once again to another edition of our webinars in the series Illness to Wellness. These webinars are organized by ASSOCHAM, and they have been organized since almost past 2 years during the periods of calamity and pandemic of COVID. We've been highlighting various issues of importance to the public, medical issues, and we have uh, the top specialists from our country who guide us, who respond to the questions of our audience, and enlighten us with the right knowledge, the ways to be healthy and to defeat disease. Today, we are having a very, very important topic, especially in the context of the pandemic, which is still continuing and probably may again be on rise, and it's already on the horizon. So today's topic is building immunity. Immunity is very important for us to fight disease, to be healthy, through healthy food and hygiene practices among students. So to enlighten us on this, we have a very diverse panel of specialists, educationalists, nutritionists, doctors, specialists, and whom we would be introducing going on further. But at the onset, I would request Shri Anil Rajputji, who is the Chairman Committee of CSR of ASSOCHAM, to say a few words, start the session, and give a brief introduction of our panelists. Sir.
Good morning. Thank you, Dr. Rajesh Kesri, who's been my long-standing partner in raising awareness during this very difficult time. I take this opportunity, and it's my proud privilege to welcome Ms. Shonali Sabharwal, microbiotic nutritionist, chef instructor, author, podcaster, fermentation coach, uh, Dr. Sanjay Chaure, practicing general and GI surgeon, head of the department, surgery, PSRI hospital, Ms. Ritu Mehta, the principal, because today we have actually targeted that students are a very important community that we need to engage with in this topic. So I welcome her. She is principal of EPJ School, Sheikh Sarai, New Delhi. Dr. Praveen Makija, senior consultant, pediatric, Max Healthcare, and Dr. Rajesh Kesri. I would like to welcome all the participants to this webinar on building immunity, health, food, and hygiene practices amongst students, organized by ASSOCHAM under its Illness to Wellness campaign. For the past 2 years now, the phrase building immunity has been a trending topic. While on one hand, the idea of building immunity is tempting, on the other hand, the ability to do so has proved somewhat elusive. On a daily basis, we are constantly exposed to potentially harmful microbes of all sorts. Our immune system, which is a network of intricate stages and pathways in the body, protects us against these harmful microbes and fights diseases and infections. In order to function well, the system requires balance and harmony, and factors like diet and hygiene play a fundamental role in affecting its performance. Any offset of these behaviors can cause havoc on the immune function. This brings us to the most important question: how can one improve the immune system? Your first line of defense is to choose a healthy lifestyle. Following general good health guidelines is the single best step one can take forward, naturally keeping your immune system working properly. Every part of your body, including your immune system, functions better when bolstered by healthy living. As per IBEF, India has the world's largest population of about 500 million in the age bracket of 5 and 24 years. With 26.31% of India's population in the age group of up to 14 years, it has over 250 million school-going students. Students, be it children or young adults, are at a stage in their life as they acquire eating habits and learn to maintain personal hygiene, which stay on and become an integral part of their personalities. Leading psychologists and human behavioral experts point out that our country's young adult population faces maximum brunt due to poor lifestyle choices they adhere to during their early years. Hence, the role of family, school, and community becomes pivotal in encouraging healthy choices among children right from the beginning. Simple food habits can boost one's immunity. It includes having nutritious, balanced diet, rich in vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, selenium, iron, protein, which is found in variety of plant and animal foods. These have been identified as critical for the growth and function of immune cells. This, along with maintaining a healthy gut and appropriate body weight, getting enough sleep, regular physical activity, and good hygiene habit go a long way in building immunity. This line of thought should be supplemented by the implementation of health education programs for students in the school and colleges with the aim of educating them on nutrition, hygiene, and having a healthy lifestyle. Several studies have highlighted the connection between hygiene and physical health and between hygiene and social health. To this, water sanitation and hygiene initiative is important in its own right. Improved wash facilities in educational institutions not only ensure a healthy learning atmosphere for students, but also sensitizes them towards safe sanitation practices. Practicing and maintaining good personal hygiene can help you care for your body, boost your immune system, and protect you from diseases. Moreover, the COVID-19 pandemic and resultant online learning models came with its own set of health-related challenges for students, such as increased screen time, eyesight problems, headache and strain, vitamin D deficiency, backache due to bad ergonomics, eating disorders, and mental health issues, all of which resulted in higher health risks amongst students. With educational institutions opening up in a staggered manner now, boosting immunity of the student fraternity should be of prime concern for parents and school authorities. We must also bear in mind that children under the age of 18 are yet to be vaccinated for COVID-19, and amongst the growing concern of the new entrant, Omicron, impacting this vulnerable population, it becomes imperative to take adequate protective steps. It will be of utmost importance that schools, colleges, and other educational institutions step up their efforts to include health and fitness as an important part of curriculum for the overall development of a child. Increased efforts are needed to encourage collaboration among schools, families, and communities to ensure the highest health and hygiene standards for all students. I am of the firm view that boosting body's natural immune system to fight any kind of virus will be critical. And this could only happen when we educate and train our future generation to care for their hygiene and health. Under these circumstances, the theme of today's webinar is extremely topical and holds great significance. We are today joined by eminent personalities who will share their expert views on the subject at hand, and I welcome them once again and look forward to an enriching session. I wish this webinar great success. Thank you and Jai Hind. Back to Dr. Rajesh Kesri.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for the elaborate and the nice discussion and the preamble that you have said. In fact, it is very important that today's discussion is not going to focus just around the food or the wash practices, but it is going to be quite elaborate, just as Sri Rajputji has mentioned in the preamble and his address. So I was just looking up the definition of hygiene. As we all understand, it is defined in various ways in various dictionaries, but basically it is the conditions and practices which are conducive for good health. In fact, I was looking up a shloka from the Charak Samhita, Dharmarth Kama Moksharam Arogyam Mool Uttamam. It also says something similar. Good health is prerequisite for attaining dharma, arth, kam, and moksha. We are all yearning to be healthy. We want our children to be healthy, which is the future of our country, and who are the future of our families. And how can they be healthy? How can they be strong? How can they fight disease? So all this we're going to discuss, and I would like to start today's uh, today's discussion by inviting Dr. Sanjay Chaure, who, even though is a GI surgeon, but he has passion of wellness, about people making healthy and how to bring about this change in the society. So, sir, what are your views on wellness and preventive medicine?
Okay, so thank you so much, Dr. Kesri, for asking me to speak and, in fact, kick off this seminar. Wellness, as I understand it, are products and services. And of course, education is part of it, which lets you be in as good a health as possible, till as long as possible. Now, your theme of illness to wellness is something very close to my heart. And if I could speak for a few seconds on this, everybody is going to fall ill. But the illness to wellness, I should be calling it a continuum. There are phases in this which comes in everybody's life. And the goal should be, I'm definitely, you're doing a fantastic job in bringing this point home. The goal should be to turn ourselves all the time from illness towards wellness. So this spectrum is not static. I can fall ill, but that illness does not have to remain with me. I can still be well within the constraints of my illness, even if that illness is going to remain with me for some time. That is what I understand about wellness, and of course, immunity is part of that whole process.
Thank you, sir. In fact, I completely agree with you that as human beings, as living organisms, and as any biological system, we are continuously facing assaults. We are facing assaults from all the environmental factors, be it outside our bodies, be it within our bodies, be it the social structure, be it the environment around us, be it pollution. So in order to withstand and come out of all these assaults, we definitely need a strong immune system. We need the capacity to fight back. And as you very rightly said, to prevent illness and to continue in this journey of wellness. Now, I'd request Dr. Makhija if he's here. Dr. Makhija. I think he's not there right now.
Good morning. Yeah,
Good morning, you're there, sir. Good morning, welcome again.
thank you.
Sir, please elaborate on the immune system, because we are talking a lot about the immunity, the immune system, but it is something quite elaborate. So could you please, in simple terms, tell our viewers what is the immune system and how does it develop in the children, so that we have some basic understanding about both the arms of the immune system, then we'll build on to that.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Rajesh. As we all have heard a lot about immunity, immune system during the COVID periods. So let's understand a newborn baby when he is born. So from the very first day, or in fact, rather when the baby is inside the mother, the immune system starts developing. When it comes out, it's in a very inert stage, in a very child which is incapable to fight everything, but slowly he develops all immunities over the passage of time. So what immunity we are blessed with is innate immunity. The minute the child is born, he can fight off with infections in a general manner. So it is an innate immunity which can fight and takes all infections as a similar ones. But as we grow, we have multiple infection viruses challenging our body and our immune system. So our body learns to fight each of them specifically, and we are now developing the immunity which is specific to a particular organism. So this is adaptive immunity which keeps enhancing its arms over the period of time. This change initially when the baby is small due to lack of, you can say, the immune system being little immature compared to an adult. So this immune system slowly enhances all its powers, various components. In simpler words, if we understand like what we generally understand as WBCs, there are many types of WBCs, killer cells, macrophages. So these are all technical terms, but one should understand that these all their functions enhance and we develop a complete immunity over a period of time. Normally, the barriers we have like skin, eye, mucosa, GI tracts, they are with us from birth, and they protect us majorly from all the invasions that we have from various infections. This immunity plays an important role as we get older, and vaccination is again one component of the immunity which comes in our life and prevents us from many serious infections. Yes.
Thank you. Dr. Makhija. That was a nice introduction about the immune system, about the innate immunity that we have, and slowly as the child faces newer and newer challenges from different infectious agents around him or her, then the immunity to those also develops, and the way it develops has been very nicely and simply alluded to by Dr. Makhija. Thank you, sir, Makhija. Now I'd like to come to Shonali ji. When you're counseling, first of all, you must be counseling children of growing age. So in your counseling, in your diet, do you somehow keep this mind? Do you address the development of child and specifically the immunity? Is there anything special for that? Please unmute yourself. We can't hear you. Shonali ji, please unmute yourself.
Okay.
Yes, now we can hear you.
Thank you for having me. And I'd like to say that I've also been on the board of 2 schools. So I also give a lot of talks on immunity to not only the parents, but children and the staff as well. I've been doing that for the last couple of years. And yes, I do have a lot of kids on my, coming to me for different health conditions. And one of the only thing I address actually with most kids is the food choices that they are making and the food choices that the parents are including in their diets to address their gut health. So what kind of foods are included to address gut health, and then two, to build immunity, which I look at building good blood condition. So if we simplify it, if we simplify immunity, then I'm addressing blood condition. So what is the pH balance of the child's blood? If you're looking at children alone, then children and adults both, you're looking at their pH factor and is it in balance. So if they are too acidic, then you're trying to bring them towards a more balanced pH. And then you're, of course, addressing gut health, which is really important. And what are the food choices that they're making to destroy their gut health and then therefore impact their pH balance. So those are the two things that I look at. And when it comes to simplifying everything, it's all about what are the food choices that they are making, not only on a so-called, I would say, healthy level, like, they're having more home cooked food, they're having whole grains in their diet, they're having a lot of vegetables, but also a big part of destroying their immunity is what the food choices they are making on a daily basis, which is making them eat perhaps more sugar, if you're looking at children, or you're looking at them veering towards more junk foods. What is causing that problem, and then how to address that problem. So that's how I address immunity with parents and kids and adults as well. What are the food choices on a day? So one is you're looking at immunity from the perspective of building immunity, but then no one's really looking at, you can say, oh, I'll have an orange a day because it gives me vitamin C, right? So I get the antioxidant and I'm doing well and I'm getting my vitamins and whatever. But then on the other hand, you are doing 50 other things which are wrong, that are destroying your immunity. So are we really addressing those things or not addressing them? It could be as simple as overconsumption of sugar or overconsumption of refined white flour, right, which goes in and destroys gut bacteria. So I look at both those aspects of a person or a child's diet when I'm addressing immunity.
Thank
And
you.
of course,
Thank you
it
so
boils
much.
down to the gut.
Thank you. So someone wanted to add in? Because we have doctors on the panel, if someone would like to just clarify the issues about the acidic and basic pH so that our listeners get the right impression.
We couldn't hear you, Dr. Casey, because of the echo.
I didn't get you. There's a lot of echo. Anyway, I'd like to come to Mrs. Ritu Mehta. Ma'am, how are the schools addressing this issue of development of immunity in children, keeping them away from diseases, now that we have this pandemic of COVID, which we all are aware of? What, in your view, is the most important thing that schools as institutions may be able to accomplish, which we others like doctors and general community are not capable of? What are your views in this? Mrs. Mehta.
Yes. Thank you so much, Rajesh ji. And I've been listening to all the eminent speakers talking about boosting immunity. The school's roles are very different. We follow the guidelines given to us by the government, by our CBSE, by Directorate of Education. But our whole energy goes in reinforcing those points. So we make a timetable where we have dedicated time slot for morning group time or in between time between two periods, so that children can hydrate themselves, have water, and lunchtime stipulated which hour is necessary. Because I have seen children coming to school in the morning and most of them had not had their breakfast. They may be starting at 6 o'clock and they may be boarding the bus or something. And by the first period, they are really famished with not able to have energy to speak. and to participate in class discussion. So this observation made us to change our thought process, and we immediately had that morning fruit break time where we ensured that children should bring, if their parents can't pack a fruit, then at least some nuts, some kind of cereals or something which gives them energy, instant energy. And when children are sitting together in a class, I have seen it gives them motivation to eat. Sometimes in senior classes, even they snatch their each other's food and they eat. So the purpose is that at home, one parent may be forcing the child to eat. But here, when all are sitting together and we have made a dedicated time, children try to take out food from others' bag and eat. So that purpose is met. So we have a morning 9 o'clock snack time. Then we have dedicated water bell that between lunch and then we break for 5 minutes and we say everybody will have water. So you hydrate yourself. So we ensure hydration. We ensure proper timings of the meals to be kept, small breaks in between, proper lunch time, and that's how, of course, afternoon is so difficult. We feel that some schools may be doing, but our school is not a day school. So at 2 o'clock also, it's a long time. So like in my earlier school, when I was in Bangalore, the children had to travel a lot. So they used to reach by 3:30. So we had taken hired from some external agency, used to bring snack box at 1:30 to school. And they used to, those who have ordered parents on online, they used to keep those snack box at the reception and with the name tag, and children used to pick up and eat it in the bus, because that was a long time. But here I have ensured in Delhi that all children, all routes are not more than 1 hour. Maximum, the last dropping point is 1 hour. So by 3, everybody should be at home. Before that also, so that they have their lunch time and they can eat subsequent lunch at home. So this is how we are ensuring that immunity is maintained by keeping these slots and having them to eat small portions.
Definitely, timing the food is very important, and we are very thankful that you are looking after it and so considerate about it. Thank you, ma'am. I'd like to come to Dr. Makija with what I personally consider to be a very interesting question or a comment rather. That we are talking about, we hear a lot about immunity, especially since the COVID has started last year. Every discussion, every talk, every advice actually is about immunity. Just tell me, is there any good immunity or bad immunity?
See, when we talk about immunity, the purpose of immunity is to protect our body against any foreign directed infections against us. So if we are able to comply and we are able to save, protect ourselves, so that's a good immunity. Now, when you understand immunity, it is not just a simple like an attack and you defend. There are multiple things happening in the body all the time. It's a very complicated mechanism. Now, an agent that comes to our body, which attacks us, so our body can produce immunity antibodies, which can be similar to our body structures. It can produce autoimmune diseases where the body starts destroying its own cells, assuming them to be a foreign material. And so this now immunity is directed against our own body. So we can have multiple diseases varying from diabetes, skin problems, and other autoimmune systemic diseases. So these like joint pains, everything. So these come under the autoimmune, where the body has lost its auto regulation and started hitting its own self. There can be allergies which are subsequent to immunity, where the immunity fights against the allergens and produces reaction. So immunity's purpose was to protect the body, but somehow it either overshoots or is not able to control. And we have multiple subsequent conditions which come into the picture because of this. Like one of the conditions post-COVID now, since everybody is keen about COVID, so there is a systemic inflammatory reaction which is seen typically in children, particularly post-COVID, few weeks after COVID. So there you have to control the immunity and the things come back to the track. And so this way immunity is most of the times is good for us, but can be detrimental for in some conditions.
Yes, thank you. In fact, that was really very interesting, Dr. Makija, as you've elaborated that if immune system, if it goes haywire, immune system, as I simply like to describe, is basically the soldiers who are policing our body, who are not allowing anyone to, any adverse agent to come inside and to create havoc. But if they go out of control, they themselves can create havoc because they are made for that purpose. They're programmed to do that. And I would like to share here that one of quite common diseases that we see quite frequently is type 1 diabetes. Little do we realize that type 1 diabetes, majority of the time, is the result of a very benign stomach infection which the mother has during her pregnancy. So some viral infections during the pregnancy of the mother can lead to such a, I would say, drastic disease that type 1, like type 1 diabetes, wherein the child has to take insulin throughout the life, and it is associated with many other diseases like thyroid disease and so many other diseases of the gastrointestinal system. So here comes the role of hygiene that we picked up today. Hygiene is actually very important, maintaining good hygiene. Here, I would like your opinion on the hygiene hypothesis about asthma, Dr. Makhija. Would you please elaborate a little bit on that? Because we have both the coins of immunity. It is good at times. The hygiene is very good at times. It is not that good. So please elaborate on that.
So see, earlier what I was saying was the diseases which can happen when the immune system goes out of control. So that is one aspect. So what happened in West in 80s was they could study the children who were living in an absolute well hygienic conditions, and children where there were small infections, the conditions were not as conducive and hygienic. It basically was when the East and West Germany were like they were getting together. So the number of infections, the asthma, the allergies, there were so many things which came into the picture, and they studied a group of children living on this side of the country and that side. From where basically it all started in the Western world, where they realized that children who have been exposed to small infections, not serious ones, but small regular infections, have a better immune control system than the children who are living in an absolute airtight, hygienic, absolutely in a controlled manner, where even the viruses, the entry of viruses or bacteria is so limited that the immune system forgets to fight its space. So the children who are living in a world where they have small immune system gets a small challenge on a regular basis, which does not cause serious disease but has repeated infections, small parasites, infections, skin problems, air infections. So in these children, the immune system works both ways: when to start, when to stop, which organism to fight, how to fight. But in conditions where it has been absolute clean, the immune system forgets to stop. So there we have seen many of these allergen conditions are in an extreme high incidence. So this is one hypothesis where many things we are not able to explain on the basis of this, but yes, this thing we have definitely seen between West and East, that in our community that is it is less compared to the Western data. And we could also see some responses like our fighting against the COVID cases and the Western world, the face they are facing. So there is definitely an amount of difference when it comes to the infection or the allergies to us.
Thank you so much, Dr. Makhija. Dr. Sanjay Chaudhary, sir, I would like to come to you in this continuum itself, and I'd like to ask you again a sort of general question that we've been learning through these discussions that somehow probably our lifestyle, the way we've been living, we are getting more exposure to allergens and to bacteria, viruses, probably through the way we live. So we are somehow able to maintain a balance, or should a balance be maintained between exposure, fighting capability? What is good for a normal human being? Would you like to say something about this, sir?
Okay, so thank you for asking me this question. So the COVID pandemic actually, exposed our readiness for, fighting disease. And I'm not going to speak about what the public sector or the government or whatever they did. What did we do for ourselves? So we have been through, two waves, definitely. Maybe the third wave is on its way. And I'm trying to talk about self-care. I'm trying to say, what did we do about building our immunity, right? So unfortunately, my experience has been that we have already, of course, the Omicron is a looming threat, but we have already forgotten what we have been through. And when I talk about building immunity, I'm talking about at all levels. Did we teach people to eat right? Did we teach people to weigh right? Did we teach people to exercise right? So just let me elaborate a little more on this. And we are talking about when we talk about the comorbidities which actually affected our results with handling COVID, and I'm speaking about our country in specific. We talk about comorbidities like diabetes and hypertension, but we don't talk about comorbidities like overweight and obesity and poor nutrition. Unfortunately, our country suffers from both the spectrums of nutrition. I mean, we have malnutrition, and at least in urban India now, we have overnutrition. So we are not teaching, and it is very important at this point to press upon everybody what we are doing for our students, because the health practices of our students rests not only on the schools which they may be going to for a few hours, but on what is happening in their homes. And I like to tell people that your grocery list, actually आप क्या खरीदते हैं, महीने की क्या चीजें खरीदते हैं अपने घर में स्टॉक करने के लिए, is an indicator of how much you are taking care of the family's health. So again, I mean, exercise, we are one of the laziest nations as far as physical activity is concerned. On a worldwide survey, we are one of the most protein deficient countries on a worldwide scale. And we need to correct all this, and we need to take a practical look at what we are doing for ourselves. Of course, we have high-tech hospitals. Of course, if you can pay, you have access to the best healthcare. But between our visits to the hospital and to the doctors, are we doing something for ourselves?
Well, we are on the path from illness to wellness. At least this is a great effort that ASSOCHAM has been doing. And as Sri Anil Rajputji was already mentioning, that we have covered a milestone, and if we were to measure, we
I
probably
want to
have
congratulate
thousands.
you on that.
Thank you so much, sir. We are trying to do our bit, and we know that you're. And if together we continue our efforts in this direction, I'm sure that we would be able to achieve at least something. And in continuing the same, Ms. Shunali, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, we can see you.
I just put my, yeah.
Yes. So I have a very specific question to you.
Sure.
And it would be my very humble request that you guide our listeners and our audience as to, let's say, some very specific things which are affordable, which are easily accessible for all. What foods you would recommend family to include in their diet, which would positively influence the health of the growing child? So please be specific in particular.
May I also focus on what they shouldn't include? Because that's another very important part.
Definitely.
Like the grocery list, like we were talking about.
That
So I
was
think
supposed to be the next question.
yeah,
to you.
so let's start with that, because that, once we get those things out, then we're on a path of including things which are also very good for them. So the first biggest thing that they can start excluding from their diets is sugar. So if white refined sugar is on your grocery list, then that's one thing that you need to start minimizing the consumption of. You can switch to gur or gur ka shakkar, but not on a daily basis. Jaggery is an option, but not on a daily basis, because it does over time the same to the system what sugar is going to do. It will spike your insulin levels, which will again get you into a host of other issues. The other thing that they can consider taking off their grocery list is perhaps maida, which is refined white flour. Does the same thing as sugar, and again is a kind of like, a contaminant that's coming in to destroy gut bacteria and also throw their systems off. So those are the two big culprits. And they can also focus less on animal protein, because meats and non-vegetarian food tends to also cause what I call an acidic load on the system. So while they're getting it in, they should try and balance that with a lot of vegetables. All right, so that should go off their lists. Then of course anything coming out of a box, because any foods that are coming from a processed or refined or packaged have a fair amount of additives in them, have a fair amount of food colors in them. We know now that food colors are causing bronchial issues in children. So that's one thing they have to consider, that how much of it is constituting their grocery list. They should be pulling back on foods which are processed and refined, and trying to stick to a home cooked approach more often, even when they are snacking. That's another thing that they should be looking at. And as far as adding things is concerned, if they are looking at, let's take the big food groups. If you're looking at whole grain, for example, most cases people are including roti and rice. So while you can include your roti, of course, it's whole wheat, and if you're not gluten intolerant, it's actually helping you. But you can also consider switching from white rice to unpolished rice, because that brings a whole host of nutrients which are totally different than what white rice is giving you. So while the masses are eating white rice, I would say start looking at also unpolished whole grain brown rice, for example, or red rice, for example. These are the things that we should start including as far as our grain. And then all the millets, so you have ragi, nachni, jawar, bajra. All these millets are existing in our shops today, and they're out in the market. People are talking about them. So look at your whole grains from another perspective. Start including millets in your diet, because they bring in a whole host of nutrients which are totally different than what a white rice would be giving you. All right. And then, of course, you're looking at vegetables, you're looking at seasonal local vegetables, you're looking at leafy greens. Winters are a great time to, veer towards all your leafy greens, because you're getting plenty of them. It's locally and seasonally available at this time. It brings in chlorophyll. Chlorophyll mimics the blood condition, strengthens the blood. So bring in all your leafy greens, bring in all your colored vegetables, which is getting a lot of beta carotene, which is getting you vitamin C. So that's another thing that you should be considering. And then you're looking at your nuts and your seeds. If you're looking at building up good quality fats, and you're looking at protein, you're looking at that. You're looking at sesame seed, you're looking at perhaps sunflower seeds. So all your seeds are very important. Your nuts are very important. You're looking at fruit, again, local, seasonal. I'm addressing food groups. You're looking at seasonal local fruits coming in. And then, of course, I feel a very important component of foods which gets neglected, which brings in good gut bacteria, is fermented foods. So fermented foods in some form or shape, made at home, the traditional Indian way, having a little part of it in your diet every single day, is bringing in good gut bacteria. And I think that's an aspect that we neglect a lot. We don't pay attention to it. A lot of people rely on yogurt and dahi for bacteria, but then yogurt and dahi, yogurt or dahi can have its own ramifications with a lot of people who are lactose intolerant and cannot digest dairy. So therefore, you start looking at other ways of fermenting pickles so that you can build up good gut bacteria. So on one hand, you're keeping the fiber quotient high in your diet from the foods I've just highlighted. And on the other hand, you're bringing in the good gut bacteria and removing the foods which are not serving you anymore. So that in itself is a simplistic approach to look at your diet.
Wonderful, Anil. That was really great elaboration of the different food groups which are beneficial for all of us, not only for children. And in fact, in light of today's topic, you very rightly mentioned the whole grains, the pulses that we should include in our diet. And in fact, I would like to reiterate here, just as Shri Anil Rajputji has mentioned, the very important role of some microelements like zinc, selenium, which are present very abundantly in the whole grains, which actually form our source of supply of these important microelements. And obviously, your mention of avoiding or decreasing intake of refined carbohydrates, sugar, and maida, and such things. Thank you so much. I would just like to add one small thing that actually gold, shakkar, these are the traditional sugars that we use. They also have almost the same carbohydrate content as of that of sugar. So if for some reason you would like to avoid sugars, it is good to avoid all the sugars, including jaggery and shakkar, because it actually doesn't make a difference, big difference to the body. They don't add on to anything except the change in the color. Sir, Dr. Chode would like to add something.
So one more thing I just wanted to point out here is that we are experts at concealing sugar in our diets. So when I say talk about concealing sugar in our diets, number one, we make relative, judgments that this is better than this. By making them better, they may be better. We seem to tell people that they don't need to be cautious about the amount that they are consuming. For example, fruits are supposed to be a good food and they are a great food. But sometimes people go overboard with the consumption of food. The other thing is the labeling laws allow our food manufacturers to actually conceal or actually in a, what shall I say, make obscure the amount of sugar that they're actually putting in. So I don't know. I think at least wherever I can, I try and educate people about label reading, because that is very important when it comes to, because we are going to eat some of our foods from packets.
That's very true, sir.
We can't do away with it completely.
That's very true. That's very true. In fact, just now there was a question in the chat box about the importance of sugars. What I'd like to say, I'd like to add is that sugar actually is not very necessary for our body, because at times people have this understanding that if we don't take sugar, then we won't have any energy, we won't be able to function at all. It's not like that. We have sugar, carbohydrates in everything, just as Dr. Sanjay was mentioning right now. Carbohydrates are there in all the foods, literally all the foods that we have, in our roti, in our sabzi, in our fruits. So we are having sugar in different forms. If you don't have something sweet, that does not mean that you are not having carbohydrates or the sugars. You are having them in some other way, by some taste. Sweetness is just a taste. It resides on your tongue. It's an electrical signal which goes from your tongue to your brain and absolutely nothing else. So it is a dilemma in this way. Anyway, I would like to move over to Ms. Ritu now. And I'd like to ask her one thing. As we've heard about India also now, and have we seen in many other countries, in Western countries, that usually children are provided meals in the school. So first of all, what is your view? Is it a good practice? And is it being done extensively followed in India also? Because at times we hear from different agencies that they're offering midday meals, and at times they also talk about what type of meals are they offering. So is it practice this extensively in our country now? Because we finished our school very, very long time back, and we only used to carry different boxes.
Yes, meals are being provided in schools, but it is not compulsory. So no school can force parents to take the meals from school. It is just a facility which is being offered to parents if they are not able to cook in the morning and they are busy and there's no help at home, children cannot have long hours, gap hours, when do not eat anything. And as Sir said, packed food is not very good food. So cooked food, whether it is cooked in school under the supervision of school authorities, or it is brought from some delivering agencies who are providing these packed home cooked foods to school, and they are doing tie-ups with school to take these kind of food habits, food packets to children. But they are ordered by the parents. So the menu is given online, and the parent chooses the day menu, and the person delivers in the school. The hygiene and every part is being checked both by parents and school. So these kind of programs are also there. But I have seen the shift in trend that children are eating more from school provided meals. So the ratio has gone up, but it is not being compulsory, except for some schools which are day schools. Why in foreign countries, when you are saying that meals are important? Because the school hours are long, and they primarily be a day school. But in schools in Delhi, we have 8 to 2 as a school timing. So we think that it is not compulsory. If the parent can pack a meal, if the mother is at home and she can cook, she can pack 2 tiffins, one dry and one with lunch kind of a thing, then it is not compulsory the school should give. Schools have a lot of responsibilities if they are operating in school canteens and school cooked food, hygiene, timely distribution of food, the storage of ration, because it is also very difficult. So dedicated earmarked areas for storing, for cooking. Then also there's a lot of security reasons, because there are gas cylinders, other equipments being used for cooking. What kind of people are coming to clean that area? So there's a lot of responsibilities of school, and many schools are maintaining. They have a dedicated team, and the school teachers are there, the home science department, nutritionists who makes the menu, give it to the canteen person, share it with parents, take review from parents in any kind of a change in menu they want. So schools, it's a proper unit, like transport is one unit which schools are maintaining. Same way, providing meals to children is also one complete department. So schools are doing in India now also, because of long hours and parents being busy, professionals both working, no support at home, they are ordering for food from
That's
school.
actually very important. And in fact, I have seen this very long time back during the time of the Soviet Union, that the government used to ensure good food was provided to all the children, and it was actually very important for the growth of and development of children who are going to be the future citizens of the country. So I'm sure that we have to do a lot on this. I'd just like to ask you one more small question. Since majority of the food is being provided by the children, are the schools somehow, some way involved to they sensitize the parents about what is good food and what should they be providing their children? Does the school take any initiative in this process also?
Yes, yes. That initiative is also taken, like in PTMs. Many times we make a menu list and put it on the board and ask the parents, kindly follow this menu for this week. It is not a hard and fast rule, but we have options given. First of all, it is made easy for the mother to cook in the morning, because she doesn't have to plan so much. Already the nutrition in the school, the home science department has done research about the calorie content and the nutrition, and especially variety, taste, because you can't force children every day to have only stipulated kind of a meal. So we try to innovate with these kind of meal plans. So they are known as meal plans. We sometimes put on the school website or Moodle account, whichever the parents are operating, or on PTMs we discuss. And sometimes a teacher also takes care that when children are eating in tiffin, so she's taking around and she finds somebody's tiffin very nicely packed or innovative, some kind of a decorative item is there on the same food. So we try to contact that mother and we ask the recipe and we say, how did you do it? why can't you come and explain in the PTM, or you put a little stall and show us? So it's like a community building and interacting with parents, parent connect programs. So when the child sees somebody's else tiffin very packed, he'll go home and tell, Mama, why can't you make me such kind of a nice meal? So the mothers are also happy coordinating. So these kind of things, talks, webinars, workshops, participation, projects, we give to parents and children, and we create interest that food is also a very essential part and should be enjoyed, not just had because of nutrition. You should enjoy all your food also on your platter. So both things we take care of.
Wow, that's really wonderful listening to you. I want to go back to school myself.
Yes.
Dr. Makhija, we are discussing hygiene, immunity, but actually hygiene is a very elaborate term. Just food and cleanliness is not enough. So please elaborate a little bit on hygiene, about how to prevent ourselves, what is the role of exercise, discipline probably, and sleep, please. Then I'd request Dr. Chori to continue on the same.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Rajesh. Actually, when we talk about hygiene, so hygiene, we can broadly say that it is like the personal hygiene and the environmental hygiene. So in hygiene group, basically, it is your personal hygiene in which you can tell, say, from the young age itself within your family or at school, as ma'am said, they hold various meetings with the parents. So in that ways, you can tell about personal hygiene to the family, whether it is oral hygiene, whether it is child coming, taking a bath and well dressed to the school, so that he doesn't feel himself inferior to his peers, and he gets an adequate opportunity within the group to mix. So from this, like simple other habits, like when the child is coughing, he has to keep something on his face so that doesn't spray out the infection to the community, or in a way repeated hand washing, toilet hygienes, and the child is going to the school. So these basic things, I think, are an important part of our personal hygiene. When it comes to the environment, like where we live, how clean we keep, whether the school has adequate ventilation, the sitting distance is adequate when it comes to, in today's world of COVID, where we want to prevent the diseases coming to the community and keep them to the minimum. So keeping your house, food, disposing waste properly, ensuring that the infection doesn't spread around the community because of us, whether it is repeated hand washing, or you're coughing with a handkerchief, or your elbow on the face, something like this. So these things are very important when it comes to hygiene. Now, health itself is a broader term. Hygiene is an aspect of it. Other components, as you said, whether it is regular exercise or like somebody de-stressing himself, keeping his body fit to keep the our immunity level, our basic metabolism at par with what it is required at that age. So these are all important components of our hygiene and our day-to-day practices.
Thank you. Thank you. Dr. Chori, sir, would you like to say something, let's say, about the role of exercise, yoga, and
Okay, so Dr. Makhija spoke very well about the hygiene, but unfortunately, what has happened in the last 2 years, we are quoting that same hygiene and the fact that we are taking great care of hygiene by actually, suffering from shortages on some other aspects. For example, because we were not going out during the corona pandemic, and now because of the pollution, people are not exercising. So, we have to take a holistic view at everything. So in my practice in the hospital, I mean, if I come across some of my older patients who have gained weight, their first excuse is corona. Now, to save yourself from an infection, you are making yourself more prone to that infection when that infection comes again. So, frankly speaking, you have to take everything in the balance. And it has to be exercise is a very important part of that. Fortunately, I grew up at a time when as soon as it was late afternoon, we were out of our homes, and the only indicator for us to get back home was our parents told us, street light on होने से पहले घर आ जाना, नहीं तो खैर नहीं है. If I am to quote my parents, what they used to tell us. Today our children and young people are spending all their time on some gadget or the other. So frankly, I think exercise has really come a cropper, and we have used one excuse or the other to say that we can't do this or we can't do that. Then we have some fads coming up even in exercise. Frankly speaking, many people say, oh, gyms have been closed. These last 2 years, I've exercised, I think, 6 times a week at home, taking the help of YouTube or any other simple exercise routine. So, and one more thing is hydration, of course. And I was very pleased to see Dr. Keshri downing 2 glasses of water during our session. And I would definitely commend him on that. And one aspect is hydration. Of course, Mrs. Mehta also spoke about it, about the hydration break. We have abundance of water in our country. We are a hot country, and still the amount of water we drink is so poor. And we are actually setting ourselves to visit hospitals because of that.
Thank you. Thank you. I think that was really wonderful. And you mentioned about exercise is actually very important. In fact, we as children have spent most of our after school time out in the parks, be it hot, be it sunny, be it cold. And that's how we've grown up. And unfortunately, we don't see our children doing the same. It is actually unfortunate, both physically and psychologically, and for the growth, as I'm sure all of you would agree. One thing I just want to add here with exercise is that exercise per se, aerobic exercise helps build immunity, helps improve the general immune response. It increases the number of T cells, the antibodies. So exercise is not something which is just a general recommendation, because सबको बोलते हैं कि exercise करो. So people at times take it very lightly कि exercise तो कुछ नहीं है. But I explained to my diabetes patients that actually in diabetes, exercise works like a medicine. It decreases your requirement of medicine, and it is an insulin sensitizer. It is actually a medicine. Similarly, here when you have maybe an immune system which is not competent enough, exercise actually helps boost immunity. So daily exercise is very important. I'm sure everyone is agreeing here. It is very important for our children here also. So going along with our this discussion of general hygiene, Ms. Rituji, I would like to ask you, social hygiene is also very important. And as sirs have just mentioned, in that this disengagement from the society, and in a great way, I think the children are bearing the brunt of that, because I personally feel one of my best days of life were my college life, and I don't see that in my daughter. I think she's lost those 2 wonderful years of life. She's just lost that. I'm sure the same is happening in the schools. So what is your opinion? What is your view about that?
This is really, really a major problem and major thing in the society we are observing, that children are not getting adequate social mixing. Learning with being in school is so important. Past 2 years, many a times government has given us guidelines to open school with proper norms. But most of these norms and guidelines were for senior school, for 9 to 12th. Not even once, only in November, in last 2 years, I must say, we got the guidelines to open for primary and middle school. So they have not seen school for past 2 years. Though learning has happened, children have studied, they have innovated, teachers have ensured that children are taking all lessons seriously as they used to do. Exams happen, activities happen. We did annual day, we did exhibition, we did carnival. All festivals were celebrated online. But the child doesn't know that how is my friend being at home, what is he like, what is he expecting. So we did one PTM without the government guidelines, and we said parents can bring their children also in casuals, just to see. And the excitement you must have seen that day in the school with the slots. But children were really thanking that, ma'am, this is a good thing. After 2 years, I could see she's my teacher, or she's my friend in my class. Thank you for organizing this PTM. So we can see the emotions, we can see the child being at home and getting all facilities, all kind of luxuries and pleasures, but not mixing with the friend and teacher is something they are deprived of. And it's a high time now. Of course, viruses are going on, transformations are taking, and doctors are doing a lot of help to get the medications done. But this should be now taken as a part and parcel of a regular hygiene habit. What you said, now teaching children to have a good hygiene, to maintain a social distance. You can't now hug your friend as you enter the school. You have to wash your hand. You have to sanitize. Keep sanitizer properly. Do not spill it on the floor. So there are certain things which we are teaching children. This has to continue. Maybe another 2 years, it will not go. And many young children now, 1 or 2 days when they came to school, वो mask पहने हुए. हमने बोला शक्ल दिखाओ. No, my mama said not remove the mask. So they are not removing the mask. They know that if I'm outside, I have to wear mask. So we were so happy कि देखो ये इनको समझ है कि अब तो ये हमें पहन के ही जाना है और हमें इसको उतारना नहीं है, तब तक हम सस्टेन कर सकते हैं. सो यंगर जनरेशन, द class 5 primary, pre-primary children are more conscious. So they have to live a longer time and they have to understand. So closing school is not a solution. Now we have to be very particular. We follow the norms. We have guidelines. हमने हर जगह स्कूल में बोर्ड्स लगा रखे हैं. हम पूरी बिल्डिंग सैनिटाइज करते हैं वीकेंड्स पे. सबके डेस्क टेबल को स्प्रेज करते हैं. तो हम बहुत सारे एफर्ट कर रहे हैं. तो अब घर में बैठ के क्या, बाहर आओ, मिलो, बात करो, पढ़ो. और रोज भी नहीं बुलाते हैं. हम तो बोले 3 दिन आ जाओ स्कूल, बहुत है. 3 दिन तो आना शुरू करो. बट द गैप हैज बिकम सो मच. So I request all parents, all educationists, all people, let's tell the government कि don't close it now. Let's be precautions. Let's have time frames. But ये नहीं कि कभी भी बंद कर दिया. अब pollution है, क्लास के अंदर क्या pollution? जो घर में है वही क्लास के अंदर pollution. तो घर में बैठ के क्या वो pollution से अवे हो गए? हाँ, हम स्कूल में भी वही, ठीक है, आउटडोर एक्टिविटीज बंद कर देंगे, हम स्पोर्ट्स के लिए नहीं ले जाएंगे. 10 बजे के बाद when sunshine is there, particles are less, then we can take them. बट वो घर में बैठे हैं, सब कुछ कर रहे हैं, पोल्यूशन है, बट स्कूल में बंद है पोल्यूशन की वजह से. ये this will not go for a longer time. So let's change our mindset and put it into the
Very
proper
true.
way so that our children should not suffer.
I think your last words are very, very important. Let's change our mindset. And we have to change our mindset. We have to change ourselves and learn to live with COVID and with these diseases, because COVID actually is not going to go away. I think maybe we would be able to do something about pollution, but hardly anything about COVID, because it is going to mutate, it is going to change, it is going to come back. This is very heartening. आपसे सुन के बहुत अच्छा लगा कि हमारे कम से कम बच्चे तो सचेत हैं, उनके माँ बाप हो ना हो.
Yes.
ये बहुत अच्छी बात है. अच्छा, एक बात मैं अभी छोटे छोटे सवाल पूछूंगा क्योंकि काफी समय हो गया है, बट आई थिंक देयर आर सम थिंग्स व्हिच रिक्वायर अटेंशन. क्योंकि हम यहाँ तो डॉक्टर मौजूद हैं, वो लोग कुछ संदेश हमें भेजना जरूरी है. I'd like to ask any of you doctors, कुछ जो हाइजीन से एसोसिएटेड बीमारियां हो सकती हैं, जैसे न्यूरोसिस्टिकोसिस, हेलमिंथिक बीमारियां, थोड़ा सा बता दीजिए इनके बारे में कि क्या करना जरूरी है, क्यों करना जरूरी है, और एक छोटे से कीड़े से कितनी भयंकर बीमारी हो सकती है.
So I think wash your hands, cook your food well, And of course, being a surgeon, I have a fetish for washing hands, but hand washing is definitely something that we must practice at least before every meal, after every time that we go visit the toilet. And all those sanitizers are poor substitutes for a good hand wash.
Dr. Makhija, sir.
Absolutely rightly said by sir. And one more thing, like the eating habits, eating from home, ensuring that the food quality, water, what you consume is at par, it's consumable. Don't just be in a haste to eat from open outrees and shops, and like normal these teenagers, kids have the habit of these fast food coming out, and it's in the dust, these ovas and every infection and everything. Like right hand washing, what sir said, everything, like it has to be a wholesome approach. If then only we can win the battle against helminths. Like government is giving deworming medicines every 6 months. There are recommendations, but still India has so far not reached anywhere close to West when it comes to these diseases.
So is it advisable to give all the children deworming medicines every 6 months or 3 months? Is it a general advice, sir?
These are general guidelines based on the community, how much infection we have, how much nutritional problems and malnutrition in our country we have. So just going by what the WHO and the government of India is purely on a recommendation for better health and better environment.
What is the role of vaccination? Which vaccinations would our panel advise to most of the children, at least?
The government of India so far has made a plan for COVID vaccination, when I'm saying, but so far there has been no guideline from the government. So the available vaccine, the data available with them, how much they will be effective in children, what age group has to come out. But when we see the West, the Pfizer is one which I can say they will be giving at all age groups. And different doses are there for younger children, and older age, it's same as almost as an adult. Their efficacy is also about 90% and above. But since these vaccines are not available to us, so there is no point carrying on discussion on them. Now, as a pediatrician, the other aspect is what I have seen is in most of the children, as sir said, people are not moving out of the house. So they consider their normal vaccination, like vaccination against tuberculosis, against hepatitis, against chickenpox, that has taken a backseat. Now, what is normally seen after these pandemics in many WHO studies, like in a country where some pandemic has come up, like Ebola came in certain part of Africa. So 6 months, 1 year from now, from that time we had seen that other diseases cropped in because children were not immunized. So they will throw the other diseases will become more serious, or they'll show their presence in the community if we right now do not continue with our routine vaccination practices for children which were there and have been there for decades. So we have to ensure that what is going on should go on, and the government should, as ma'am also said, now we have to change our mindset. The school has to open. So guidelines for school teachers, children who can be vaccinated, things should all move in a very fast pace.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Now I request each one of you to give a small message in conclusion, what you consider is the best advice to our audience. We will start with Dr. Sanjay Chaudhary, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kesri. All I would like, because this is meant for students, so there are two messages that I would like to give. One is to the parents. This is a monkey see, monkey do business. If you are following healthy practices at home, then you can expect your children to follow healthy practices. That is number one. Number two, I think to the student and the younger people who are listening to my voice, you can enjoy life without doing all the wrong things. You can enjoy life if you are less on your phones, more in the field, more on exercise. You have to live a longer life, and the healthier it is, the better it is for you.
Thank you, sir. That was wonderful. Dr. Makhija, sir.
Yeah, as sir said, it's an absolutely right statement that we have to do it. And the other important thing right now for all the since it's talk related to students, so for the parents basically, don't be hesitant. Let your child go out when he can go to marriages, when he can go to mall, then he can as well go to the school. Maybe in eco bubbles, or then maybe we can make some arrangements, some part-time teaching. But yes, we have to ensure. I have seen in last 1 year many of the children requiring psychological help, which never used to be a part of our practice. It's not that people never used to come, but the number has now gone up so high that I feel it's high time we should respect the child's needs and we should provide them with the environment they deserve. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. And Miss Ritu, ma'am, please unmute yourself.
Yeah. Yes. So my advices are always with parents and children. We always keep them. This time I would just say precaution is the best medicine. Take precautions. Keep yourself safe. Do not venture into anything which you don't know. So this is not time to become bold and say, "Nahi, isse kuch nahi hota." There are sometimes people take this challenge. No, I know it. ये सब बेकार की बातें हैं, ऐसे नहीं होगा. This is not the statement now. We should listen, take guidelines. Science has evolved so much, so we have a lot of guidelines given. Let's follow precaution, follow things, and be happy and be safe. That is what is my message to my students.
Very nice, very nice. Thank you, ma'am. And Shonali ji?
Yeah, so my message would be to the educators. I would say teachers should become more mindful of their health, because I've seen a lot of teachers don't take care of themselves, and they are the role models for children as well. And now that kids are coming back to school, somewhere they should be briefed. Like I gave a talk recently to teachers, staff of a school, where I realized a lot of them had a lot of misconceptions about their own health. So if we address them, I think we can address the students and the youth through them, and make sure that they have some messages that are going out on a daily basis to students. So that's one aspect. For kids, I would say, they should be mindful that every choice that they make on a food level, or they make it on an activity level, is going to benefit them or not benefit them. So if it's harder to say than do for them, but if they are mindful about it, then they know that, okay, if I'm having a candy bar, which is full of sugar, versus a carrot stick or a fruit, they should be mindful of those two things while making food choices. So I think those are the two messages I would be sending out today.
Thank you. That was really wonderful. I would just like to reiterate one thing which actually Dr. Chore has mentioned. I would request all the parents to watch their own weight and watch the weight of their children. Because if your children are overweight, you are actually programming lots of diseases which are going to come to them when you are not there to take care of them. That's going to be diabetes, that's going to be high blood pressure, and eventually it would land them into a heart attack or a stroke. And it is the time to prevent them now, when your child is in 5th grade, 4th grade, or 2nd grade. Your child should not be obese or overweight. I think that's one of the very important things. That's why I've just reiterated. Dr. Chore had mentioned monkey watch and monkey copy, something like that. So thank you so much, everyone of you. And I would request Shri Anil Rajput ji to give a vote of thanks and conclude our meeting. Sir.
Thank you, Dr. Kesi. I'd like to start with Dr. Chori, who opened the session and gave all of us a concept of wellness. Thank you very much, Dr. Chori. And he gave a message to all the audience that self-help is actually most important. What did we do to build our own immunity? Now, he said we need to teach people to eat right, weight right, exercise right. So these are some of the important message that were given by him. He said that people need to read label reading, because packaged food is somewhat packaged food would be there in everybody's life. And going forward, it is not going to decrease. It is only going to increase. As you know, there are husband-wife working, urban pressures are going to grow, time availability in the hands of the parents will be less, as Dr. mentioned. So they need to read label before consuming all this food, and they need to make healthy choices for their lifestyle. Exercise is very important part of our life. Hydration is very critical, and you saw how Dr. Kesari was ensuring that he is keeping himself hydrated and ensuring that all of us are not well hydrated during this period. Thank you very much, Dr. Chori. Monkey see, monkey do business is I think a lot of people would have taken note of what you mentioned. Thank you very much for coming and joining us. I'll also like to thank Dr. Makija for giving a very simple concept to all our listeners and viewers, saying protect your body, and there are from the external agents. Your internal agents are there. Keep your internal agents strong so that you can fight this whole menace. Personal hygiene, social distancing, waste disposal, all these are critical factor for people to kind of keep their lifestyle healthy. Don't be hesitant to send your children to school, he mentioned. And during this pandemic time, he noticed that there is a psychological help that children have needed much more than they had experienced. So, as we've also experienced during this 2 years, that mental health has been a very, very big cause of concern to many people. So my thanks to Dr. Makija for coming and sharing his thoughts with us. And I'll also like to thank Dr. Ritu Mehta, not Dr. Principal Ritu Mehta, for coming and joining us. And she shared, how schools are very mindful of the current situation, and also all the time they are ensuring that they are keeping pace with the changing needs and the requirement which keep children healthy and safe. They have created snack time, water time, lunch time. Everything is very well disciplined for their the period that they spend in the school. There has been a huge awareness on the virus you mentioned, and therefore ASSOCHAM should also take up with the government authorities that it is critical that we keep our schools open, because children are facing huge amount of isolation sitting at home, and which is creating their imbalance in their mental health. And I am sure from ASSOCHAM, we will take up this matter with the authorities in this manner. And we need to change our mindset. Pollution is there, whether you are sitting at home or in office. A very, very important point made by her. And I like to once again thank her for joining us. And thank you, Shonali ji, for coming and sharing your experience with us. You've been already doing great job telling people what they need to exclude from their grocery basket. Ultimately, if you look at your grocery basket, many of the problems you can reduce on your health. Ultimately, if why should you allow illness to come to you? And that can only be done provided you are doing the right things. You are eating the right food. You are doing a balanced exercise. You are teaching people constantly as to what are the changing scenarios and how they need to keep abreast with the latest. So I think people would have taken all the copious notes of what you've told them today. And the most important comment that you made was for the principal, madam, that train the trainer. If teachers can be trained, and then they can train all the school children in a more effective manner. And we need to make right food choices. So with these words, I'd like to thank our panelists for coming, sharing their knowledge and experience with us. And we are really grateful to all of you for sparing your valuable time for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.